Welcome to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. Thank you so much for tuning in to our final show on season 4. It's been a heck of a ride. We're super happy to have gotten to the end of season 4. Please make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, and share our live videos. You can, of course, share from YouTube at That's Life by Leah Leach. You can share from Facebook at That's Life 0320 2020. And you, of course, can go to our Instagram and our Twitter pages for all updates relating to our show. Our sponsor this week is Zeont Starfighter's book series. Without knowing why they receive strange elemental base fragments or even why they exist, Kenneth Lambert and Richard Troglin will embark on new destinies that will ram them and their opposing ideals head on. Want to know more? Go to zeontstarfighters.com for details and to order your copy of a book. You will not be disappointed. It's an amazing book series. All the information is on our ticker too, so you can get the information there. So as you know, we always deal with COVID because COVID is ever fluid. It's something that's still going on, even though we're getting back to a little bit of normalcy. As of 7:40 globally, confirmed cases are over 119 million. It's crazy to think that that's where we are. When we first started this thing, these numbers were crazy low. Deaths as of right now is a little bit over 2,600,000. Please, people, I know that we're taking vaccines and a lot of good things are happening as it relates to COVID-19, but please make sure that you mask up, follow the orders from the CDC, take care of yourself, do the things that you need to do to stay healthy. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about growing up in a military family. I'm super excited about this show, although I wasn't a military brat myself. I was in the military and I can kind of relate to this topic a little bit, but it's going to be a fun show to talk about Tiffany's experience as it relates to the military. So we're going to be talking about growing up in a military family with my very special guest, Tiffany Gibson. So when we take our break, we're going to kick straight off into the show. We'll be right back. Welcome to my Welcome back to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. Thank you so much for tuning in to our segment on our final show for season 4. We're super excited about having this show and just super excited that we've almost made it to 1 year to date since we started our show. It's been such an amazing ride. Lots of fun topics that we talk about, a lot of serious topics as well too. But we hope that you feel empowered, you feel educated by the topics that are at hand, including this particular topic that we're talking about tonight. So as you know, I always come with the stats and I always make sure that I come with stats regarding whatever topic we're talking about today. From DoSomething.org, military families relocate 10 times more often than civilian families. Since 2001, more than 2 million American children have had a parent deploy at least once in their lifetime. That's a crazy astronomical number if you think about it. So, as I said, I am super excited about introducing my guest today, Miss Tiffany Gibson, as she talks about her experience as a military brat. Tiffany, welcome to the show. We're super excited about having you.
Thank you for having me.
And I am super excited about this show as a veteran myself. I love talking about my experience in the military, but I also like talking to people with their experience in the military because everybody's experience is a little bit different. Specifically, active duty members. Active duty members have a different experience than people like me who was reserved, where I can come home and be with my family and close to that. So, Tiffany, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and what your family background consisted of.
I'm 39 years old. I'm a registered nurse. And as you were talking about COVID, I've been working the COVID pandemic for an entire year. Been in New York and Texas, and now in Georgia. My dad was in the Army, and he served 35 years. He was in Special Forces, so out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I was born. Um, we moved every year of my life until I was 14, 15, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine that. Even though I have a very similar story, I moved around a lot too as a young girl, so I can understand.
Okay.
I can definitely relate to
Relate. Right.
definitely not because of the military, but just because I came from a single parent home. So of course it was a little bit difficult, but I understand your story very much more than you think.
Got a love-hate relationship with you. Let's put it that way.
More than you can imagine. And I just want to give, I would almost be remiss if I didn't say thank you for all that you do when it relates to the pandemic. It's been a very interesting process when it comes to the pandemic. And I'm sure you've seen a little bit of everything behind the scenes. So from me to you, just shout out to you, nurses, doctors, everybody that's on the front line when it comes to the pandemic. I would be remiss if I didn't say that.
Thank you.
Definitely. So I know you said that your dad was in the military for almost 35 years, which is a long, I mean, that's a crazy number in terms of military, because most people usually serve about 10 to 15, maybe 20 years on average. So that's an amazing career span to have had in the military. What aspects do you think that you enjoyed the most about being part of a military family?
Meeting new people. It's I've always liked meeting new people. I didn't like it at first because you get attached to people and then you have to move. As soon as you like somebody, then it's time, oh, we're moving here. But it's also helped me as an adult because I'm a agency nurse, which means you take contracts. So be, because I can't move the way I used to as a kid, I changed jobs. So every 13 weeks or so, I'm out of there. And I feel like the military shaped that. I can't stay full time anywhere. So I'll get bored.
Wow. And I can only imagine too that, of course, it allowed you to be able to be more personable with people because obviously, when you've moved that much, you have to kind of learn how to learn people and just learn their qualities and the things that they like, they don't like. So, yeah, I can only imagine it's kind of opened up your door. That's where you and I will definitely get along because I'm a people person. I love to talk to people, no matter where you are, who you are. I can't tell you how many times as a child my mother lost me once in a store because I ran off to go talk to somebody.
Right.
And I was
I'm a big talker, but I also even it's taught me that even if I don't feel like talking, just do it. You know, because you come into somebody else's situation at school, their neighborhood, and you're shy, but you want to get to know people, so you learn how to adapt. So I can adapt. I always tell people you can drop me into any situation. I promise you, any environment.
That's cool. That's super cool. All right. So now the next question I have, which is the question that has been boggling my mind since the show, is where was your favorite place to live and why?
If I had to pick a place, and even now, even since working in Texas, Texas would probably be it. Even though I've lived in some fancier places, Texas, hands down, to me, it was the best. And just serving there with the pandemic, it made me miss Texas all over. I would love to move to Texas right now if I
Wow.
could.
And I could talk about Texas too. I actually was stationed in Texas for my basic training for 6 weeks. And I was shout out to San Antonio, Texas,
That's
Lackland.
San Antonio. Okay.
Yes, I loved Lackland Air Force Base. Some of the best food I actually had was in Dallas and in San Antonio. Just to say that as a cuff, but yeah, Texas is such a unique place. It's such an amazing place. So full of culture. I mean, so full of culture, and a lot of people don't really realize that Texas is full of culture, especially in the San Antonio area where I was, for sure. So
Any state that could take you 24 hours to get from one side to the other side, you know, it's got to be good.
And that's the part. Like, I don't remember the drive to San Antonio because we went by bus, of course, when we
Oh,
went to.
okay. Yeah, right.
I don't remember anything about that ride. I remember sleeping a lot, definitely, because it was a long drive. All right. So my next question to you: as a child, did you ever think about joining the military? Why or why not?
As a child, no. Uh, only because now I didn't mind as a child marrying a man in the military, but to be in the military, no. Because back in the 80s and 90s, it was, even though there were women serving in the military, it was mostly dominated by men. And I kind of just felt like, because my dad was special forces, more combat, more, he was a paratrooper. So you saw more men. So I didn't think about it as a child, no.
Wow. What about as an adult? What do you think? What did you think about it?
When I went to, my dad gave us a choice. Either you're going to school or you're going to the military. My sister, who was 2 years older than me, chose the military. She went to the Navy. And her basic training was so hard. I was like, bump that, I'm going to school. But she was also a more weaker person than I am. So I probably could have handled it. Now, I just chose school, but I do regret not going to. I think I should have gone to the military, at least the Air Force, if nothing else, because. And I had a boyfriend that was in the Air Force as a grown up, and I used to tell him all the time, and my ex husband, y'all going to PE, y'all ain't going to.
Don't you be disrespectful now, Tiffany.
My, my dad used to have to run with big rucksacks all on and full. And my ex husband was in Germany, went to play volleyball. And I'm volleyball, PE, okay, PE.
Well, I can speak on that experience. I was in the Air Force for 8 years, and it was one of the best decisions that I made for my life. Now, the irony behind that, as I say irony, is that much like your dad, my mom gave me an option as well. My mother said, you either need to go to college, you either need to go to the military, or you need to get a job and work full time. I remember college was not the option for me. I was like,
It should have been my option.
It was not a viable option for me. High school was a struggle for me, not because I wasn't capable,
Right.
because I was complacent. And that's just really the bottom line. I was complacent. Mm-hmm. And I can admit that. I can sit in that. Military was like, okay, I could probably do that. I was in ROTC for 4 years. So that didn't feel foreign to me. Right. But the commitment of that was like, I don't know about that either. That working full-time job, I had done that already as a teenager. So I thought, okay, I'm going to just work this full-time job just to appease my mom. And I'll never forget it. My mother, she gave me 3 months. She said, you got 3 months to get it together. My mother didn't give me those 3 months. My mother gave me 30 days. Ooh. I got in a car. She's like, let's go for a ride. You jump in the car. My mother drove me to Dobbins Air Reserve Base. She said, today, you're enlisting to go to the military. Today. It was right after my 18th birthday. And I remember, no, don't listen. Let me just put it out as a disclaimer. I tell everybody this. We do our shows from home, everybody. So, and Tiffany has little people. So it's all good. This is what we expect. This is what we anticipate. Okay. This is one of those, this is a community-based show. So we understand what community looks like. If you need to go on mute to do.
Good.
But one of the things that my mother told me was I wasn't going to wait for you, because if I had waited for you, you wouldn't have done anything. And so I met a recruiter. I'll never forget his name, Sergeant Clark. Ironically, as I married a Clark in my lifetime. And Sergeant Clark said, I see something in you that I feel like would be great in the military. And the rest was history. I took my ASVAB. I scored really high. And within 3 months, I was going to Lackland Air Force Base. It was literally the best decision I ever made for my life. At the time, I was mad as heck as my mama.
Right.
Because I was like, why would you do this to me? But it was one of the best decisions. And I tell people the military is one of those things. It's not for everybody. Just like college is not for everybody. But it is an experience that you should experience. if you're interested in doing that.
I agree.
I always say Team Air Force. That's just me, because I'm a little biased like that.
I mean,
My
y'all do have the best bases and
Yes, we
you
do.
know.
Listen, and some of the best cooking is also on our Air Force bases too. I'm just gonna
Okay.
put that out there. My wife was Army, so she's gonna always go Army. So as she shot it out, go Army in the house. But it doesn't really matter what branch you join. I think that it's about, if you choose to do something good, if you want to do something good, you should definitely do the military. It's one of those amazing things to have in your life. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to keep on the topic of growing up in a military life with my very special guest, Tiffany Gibson. We'll be right back.
Hi Mom, good job on 100 plus subscribers on your YouTube channel. So I'm really proud of you for that. And as you can see, there's a butterfly right there. There's also the sign that says right here, good job on 100 subs. But without describing what I'm showing, I'm really proud of you for that because it's been a major improvement of getting 100 subscribers because you started off as different quality to a whole different level of quality of topics, so many things like that. And I'm really proud of you for all of that you've done. And I'm not saying this just because you're my mom, and I'm not just saying that because I work for you. I'm saying that because it's a general fact, and most people that have seen you've grown from that's life, they can even say the same thing as well. And your Butterfly Army has been supporting you non-stop because it's a very beautiful YouTube channel that you have created and all of those things. You created a path for a reason. God set you up for you to do great, amazing things, and you're going to see as soon as you keep on going in this journey, you're going to understand why God directed you in that place, why God wanted you to do this channel. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to let you know.
Welcome back to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. Thank you so much for tuning into our segment, Growing Up in a Military Family, with my very special guest, Tiffany Gibson. As she talks about her experience growing up with a military parent. And we also are talking about a little bit of my experience with military, although I didn't grow up in a family of one. All right, so I got to come with another stat. So back to DoSomething.org, more than 900,000 children have experienced the deployment of one or both parents multiple times. 30% of children with a deployed parent reported that seriously worried that something could happen to their deployed caretaker. So, Tiffany, my next question to you is, was your dad more strict than your mom?
No.
So
Nope.
mom was more strict, it seems.
Absolutely. But she was with us 90% of the time. My dad was always gone, to another country, so no, when he came home, he was the easygoing, let's eat some candy, MREs that he had left over, so no, he was not strict. He's still not strict.
You probably had an advantage because you were a girl, but we're not going to go there.
I don't know. My dad's just he's easygoing. He really is.
Yeah. I could say that I can understand that. My dad lived in New Jersey, and my dad was also a veteran. Shout out to my dad; he was in the Air Force. My dad didn't really raise the roof too much. I mean, now granted, again, like your dad, I didn't see my dad often. I only saw him during the summers, but he was just always very chill, very relaxed. My mom, whew, foot on the
If
neck.
my dad raised his voice, then you knew. Okay, let me sit down because if he's raising his voice, so that means is he didn't got to the final straw, like. But as far as like coming in and just no.
Wow. That's really cool because I think sometimes you think, especially depending on the branch of service that a parent is in, there's such a stigma when it comes to Army parents as well as Marine parents as well
Oh
too.
yeah.
They have this hard stigma that they're so hard and so strict and so everything. And I think that a lot of times that's just kind of magnified by TV. You know what I mean? Like we see a lot of
Friends whose parents were like, whose dad was like that. And this goes to something that with the military, with Army men, what I hated about seeing my dad in the Army, when you're on post, they say in the Army post, and you be outside playing and you see them, like I said, running, saying, they say the chants. I'm sure your wife know you're chanting all around post. And you would hear some of the chant, and the Army came first, the wife came second, and it was like, and as you grew older, it was like, wait a minute, some of the stuff they saying when you see this basic trainees coming in saying the Army was first, so the chants were almost like, for me, this is the reason as a child I didn't want to be in the military, was because it was almost like, are y'all being trained to just like be? So I don't know, I didn't like that part of it. But I respected my dad's hustle and his grind. But there was a lot of people who dad was that ruled with an iron fist. When he came home, they knew what time it was. But when my dad came home, it was all about his Corvette. He loved Corvettes, so we were just riding in sports cars and motorcycles. We were just happy that he was home.
I'm sure. And I think that at the end of the day, as a child, you were just happy to have dad home, right? It wasn't about really anything else or anyone else at that moment, I'm sure.
I can still remember how, all y'all boots. I can still remember the smell of his uniform and the boot and the oil. When he used to sit at the end of the bed and rub them boots, I can still smell it to this day.
Can you imagine? I can't even like my brain can't. Those seem like long time.
Right.
That was a long time ago for me. It really wasn't that long. I went in the military in '98 and I was discharged officially in 2008. And it just seems like a blur. Like I know some aspects of it. I remember some aspects, but to, like you said, remember the smells and different things that I experienced, it was just, those are things that are invaluable to me. So I can understand totally, totally what you mean by that. So obviously we talked about your dad going to other countries. So was your dad deployed? And if so, how do you think that impacted you and just your household in general? How did it impact you guys?
He was deployed he was in the Army during the time of Desert Storm. So he was gone during that time. And also I think everybody in the Army goes to Korea at this point. Well, I knew a lot of them went to Korea at this point, so he was gone. It affected us because everybody missed their dad. And on post or bases, you all stay where the rank. So everybody's dad was gone at the same time. And I miss my dad. I wish my dad, because we was mad at our mamas because they was, and now I understand why our mamas were so angry, because you doing all the work of, and military women have kids now, 3, 4, 5, 50, 11 kids. So they're doing it all by themselves. So they're pretty much a single mom. And I understand the stress. You're doing that day in, day out. You can't even speak to your husband maybe once a week or once. And at that time, probably longer than that, because they didn't have technology as what we have now. So we were just stressed out. Then, with the military, everybody has to deal with, I guess, as a grown woman now, you would have to think your husband is over there and there are women over there. Then the husband or the wife that's there got to know, Jodies are back here on base, post, wherever. So it's a whole just mess sometimes.
I bet. And shout out to military wives. I think they don't, in my opinion, they don't get enough credit. I know, I think sometimes we think about the veterans and we think about the people that serve. And I'll say wives and husbands because that also can go the other direction as well. But so often we don't think about the spouses that are home having to raise children, hold down the fort financially, make sure that things are being taken care of. And you are definitely right, Tiffany, that the children of today, the spouses of today, have such an advantage when it comes to technology. Technology has gone leaps and bounds in terms of keeping in contact with the one that you love. Back in the 80s, like you said, in the 90s, that was like not heard of. Like if you got a phone call, it was like a special phone call. It wasn't a video call. It wasn't those things didn't exist like that.
Pretty much dad is in jail at this point.
Yeah. And it's a sad reality, but that's what it actually feels like
Right.
to a child, is that dad is away on vacation or wherever dad is, or mom is away on vacation. And like I said, far too often, military spouses do not get their due. They don't get their pay due when it comes to holding down a fort. So shout out to military wives and husbands that hold it down, because it's a hard thing. And I can imagine, especially for you as a child, when your dad is in wartime scenario. So that becomes an even greater anxiety, because you might not know it at the capacity of war, but obviously you know it at the capacity that dad's away and he's fighting a fight that you can't jump in and save him from, or that you can't do anything because you're a child. So, man, wow, that's and it's heavy because my dad was very, like, again, was a reservist. He was in National Guard, or maybe a reserve. And when he went to go overseas to fight in Vietnam, and my uncle went to Vietnam, I wasn't even here. Like, so I can only imagine as a little girl what I would have felt like if that was something that I had to experience with him. So, man, that you're a strong woman, and your mom is a very strong woman.
I think too, though, with technology being here, it's a blessing and a curse, because now these kids are more aware, like with Iraq and all this stuff, they can see a lot of people talking about it. Back in our day, our parents could kind of just tell them dad's out doing whatever. We didn't really, when Desert Storm happened, we didn't know how many people had died because we were watching the news. We didn't have internet and all this stuff where you're dialing in and seeing it. So you just knew dad was gone. I mean, you knew he was working, and that's all we knew. So, I mean, it wasn't like a scary thing because we didn't think of death. But I think with the kids in this generation, it's tough.
Yeah.
Gotta be tough.
And death is, I hate to say it, seems like it's something that's so much more prevalent now versus when we were kids. I know when I was a kid, death wasn't something that I saw often, right? Like, so even when someone passed away in my family, it was just like, oh, like, it kind of stunned me a little bit.
Right.
Whereas these children are so stigmatized with death, like, because it has happened so much in their life. So I can only imagine literally what these children of today see. And like you said, the internet, I mean, I could talk about the internet for hours, but the internet has shown so much to our children compared to when we were young girls. So definitely, you are absolutely right about that. So my next question to you is, do you believe that traveling made you more well-versed with other cultures and just in general as a whole? Because I know that, you did, even though you didn't necessarily maybe go to, or if you did go to other countries, even if you did or didn't, you still were exposed to other cultures within the states that you were in. So do you think that it made you more well-versed?
It did. But when we were younger, like in elementary, most posts or bases have elementary schools on post at that time. So we didn't even, now I can say for real, in the military, when you were on post, you did not look at race because everybody was of different nationalities, race, whatever. And we literally we went to school and that was it, and had fun. Go to YD. What was that little thing at the YDC, the youth center or whatever it's called? Y something. I can remember.
YMCA.
we would go somewhere on post and have dances and have this, whatever. But then when you started to travel as middle schoolers and high schoolers, some posting bases didn't have that. So you're now exposed to all white or all black. And some schools were high functioning academically, some of them were lower functioning. It's just all depends. So you become, yes, very well versed in travel and speaking with other races, and then you start to feel like as a black child, because most military children, we speak differently. So then you go to a black school, and all of a sudden you ain't black. Like you talk like a white girl. So you try to dumb that down a little bit. Then you go to the white school, and now you gotta take this. So it, because we would flip flop, and that's what I hated the most is you would academically you kind of sometimes be behind too if you move so much, and we moved so much that it was bad. That's when I really, like you said, I was complacent. I just didn't care. I was like, whatever. Give me the average of what. And then I was mad at my dad. Like, why you gotta keep moving? I don't understand this. Now as an adult, I appreciate it because, like I said, you could drop me in any situation and I'll be able to function. And that's all to do with the travel.
Definitely. And again, I can say I can relate to you on that because when I moved here, I actually am from New Jersey originally. Shout out to all my home team that's in New Jersey. But I remember at 10 years old moving from New Jersey to here. And the first thing that was said to me was, why do you talk so white? How do you talk like that? And I thought, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm just talking like how I normally,
Right.
And it became such a big thing. And then when I would go home in the summers, they were like, why are you talking like that? You sound so Southern. So it was like, there was never a moment where I felt really, truly in my skin. And that was a struggle. That was always a struggle from the time I was 10 until my 18th birthday. And it really wasn't until 18, 19 when I started to say, you know
I'm
what?
just gonna be me. Gonna be me.
Bump these people. I'm going to do what I do. And it's as a child, like you said, you don't really understand the impacts of what that looks like and what that is. You don't see race as a child. You really don't. That's, I guess, the key difference between our generation and even the generation that's right behind us. They see race, they understand race relations, and Gen Z, they understand all of that. Whereas we didn't really understand. I know I didn't understand it, not really, until I became a young adult. And that's when it really was exposed to me. The other thing was when I went to Lackland, there was a lot of Caucasians. That was my first real experience being smacked with a lot of Caucasians at once. And for me, it was like, whoa, what do I do with that? Because when I was in New Jersey, I had a mix. When I moved to Atlanta, it was all brown. There wasn't a lot of anything. When I moved to Texas to go to my basic training, and then when I moved to Mississippi to do my tech school, it was a lot of Caucasian. And it was like, and I definitely feel like those experiences made me well versed in how I communicate with people. So definitely I can understand that part of it. All right. So my next question to you is, do you feel like you had a strong support system as a child? And that's one of the key essential things as a military child. Most people don't really know that they have a support system within their family. So did you feel like you had a strong support system when dad was away?
I do. Every summer we went to Macon, Georgia. I consider Macon, Georgia my home because, usually people ask, where are you from? And as a child, you're like, I don't know. Couldn't say North Carolina. I was only there for 8 months and then we moved somewhere else. So I was like, I don't know. So then it's finally like every summer I was in Macon, Georgia. Macon is home. It's both my parents' home. And my family, extended family supported my mom when she went. In every base that we went to, we the kids, the wives, they all supported each other. We always had some type of something. You always form some type of bond with somebody. And I didn't feel lonely or feel like we were lonely. I just hated leaving these people.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing, was leaving, you know. And then the advantage to these kids this time with them leaving, they have phones, they have Facebook, they have Instagram. I have found some of my old military that were your best friends because at that particular time. I found some of them. It's been real cool but you missed all these years because you didn't have social media to help you find these people. So you would write a letter once or twice at 8 years old, and then you'd never hear from them again. Like, I don't know where they are.
Social media, I tell people, it's a blessing and a curse. It's definitely, like you said, in this instance, it's a blessing because you get to find people who you haven't seen or spoken to in moons. Like you find them and you're like, whoa, I didn't expect to, like, that was the last person I thought. But and so, yeah, being pen pals was something that I looked forward to, but it was also a double-edged sword because I knew that I would have to still wait for someone to write me back when they had the time, or if they even remembered me to do that.
Or if their parents gave them a stamp, because you had to pay for that. Most people's parents probably pay them a stamp.
And even stamps were cheap back then. But it was just a point of taking you to the post office and to have to.
But the privacy, the thing about it is, what people don't realize, when your parent is enlisted, you ain't making no money. My dad worked. I can remember him having to drive pizzas for Domino's on the side. He wasn't making no real money, you know. And back then, in his day and age, he was sending money. The little he had to help his mama them back home. So on top of 3 kids and a wife, and they 17 and 19, so no, we wouldn't buy no stamp.
Your dad. Your dad is the epitome of a man. Like, that's amazing. Like, to think about that is, and all veterans, I think that, like I said, veterans they don't get a good, we celebrate them for a day, but you know what? Veterans, I say this to you all the time. I didn't serve in wartime. So although I consider myself a veteran, I'm not really a veteran. I served. But to think of just the people who served this country and then they come home, y'all are amazing. I have no words for you. My next question to you, Tiffany, what do you believe being a military child taught you the most?
My brother and sister are literally my best friends. My sister has since passed, but moving, and siblings fight, each other, but literally when you go somewhere, those are the only 2 people you knew. And so taught me to appreciate my brother and my sister and our struggle, because we were able to talk about our parents, because or the military, or I'm tired of moving, and they understood, so it just taught me to appreciate my siblings.
Wow, you and I got more in common than you think, because my brother was definitely a very instrumental part of my development as a young girl. My mom was a single mom. She worked a lot, and it was my brother and I. Now we considered each other. We considered our group the Three Musketeers.
Right.
That's what we actually called ourselves, was the Three Musketeers. But mom had to work to take care of my brother and I. And I just remember there being a point where I knew I could lean on my brother. Still to this day, my brother and I are still thick as thieves. Like, we're just super, super close. And I'm thankful for the relationship that he and I have. Our babies are close in age, so it makes it really fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, things don't happen by chance. We're going to talk about this a little bit. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to go back to our show when we get We'll be right back. Welcome back to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. Thank you so much for tuning into our last show of season 4 as we talk about growing up in the military life with my very special guest, Tiffany Gibson. And y'all, like I told you, this is a community-based show, right? So you're going to hear family and kids in the background. That's what makes this show uniquely different because we're all about supporting community and family and empowerment and just giving you all the juice and all the things that you need to know about a particular topic. So, all right, Tiffany, my next question to you is, do you think you could have ever been a military spouse? Why or why not?
My ex-husband was Air Force. I never wanted to be a military spouse, to be honest, but it seemed like I was only attracted, like only people that were attracted to me were military men. And yeah, I mean, I was.
We'll keep it there. We'll just keep it right at that point. We won't go into any further detail. Like you, it's weird. I don't feel like I could have married military. I think I could have definitely dated military.
That's even bad too.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. I don't think I could have. And I think for me, it's weird. Like I love to travel. So you would think with that, I would definitely would want to. But I think there was a certain type of, once I became an adult, I wanted to settle and have roots. And I knew that if I were to have married, especially active duty, that wasn't going to happen. And I had moved so much as a child. And I think that I was like, I'm good.
And see, we're the opposite in that. I wanted to keep going. I was mad when my ex-husband got out of the military. I was like, why? What's the point? But he had deployed so many times, and that was during, I mean, I couldn't make that decision for him. I wasn't doing it. So, whatever. But I've also, with a boyfriend, he was in the Air Force, moved. I think we were at Lackland. We drove from Georgia to I was about to marry him, thought I was, and then, stuff. So no, I didn't want no military, nothing. And then I figured out Air Force men just as worse as Army and Marine, I thought they were better and sweet, family oriented.
Yeah. I could tell you a little bit about those experiences too. So my next question is, what are some attributes that you admire the most about both of your parents? So we're going to start with mom first, because obviously mom was your full-time parent. And so that's kind of the real truth of it. So what did you admire the most about your mom?
She can she can cook. She can clean better than anybody I know. She held down the fort. Like we didn't have to worry. We knew we didn't have to worry if she was around. And also the biggest lesson that she taught me, because I never had aspirations to be a career woman. I had been raised by a stay-at-home mom. I babysat, because in the military bases, they would take the teens and you would take the babysitting class, you learn CPR, you learn all this stuff. And so then they would put you on a bulletin board. And on post, that was like my accolade. Like they loved me. So I was like top babysitter. So I'm babysitting. And so I'm in here washing people's dishes and acting like I'm running a whole household, their kids and stuff. And I loved it. So I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to raise my kids. And my mom gave me the perfect example. But my mom wanted to be a lawyer, but she had to forfeit her goals because my mom was 17 when she met my dad. My dad was 19. They left Macon, Georgia. They had never been anywhere else and went to Germany and then started having kids. So think about it. You live in a country town, and most military people marry to get out of situations, from the ghetto, from abusive, from depression, whatever. So you see somebody like, move on this way, like we good, and it looks good, but you got to make it work. My mom made it work, make it look good. But she also taught me, you can be a stay-at-home mom, but have something to fall back on. And hence I'm a nurse. So there we go.
Wow. Amazing. What do you feel like your dad taught you? And what do you feel like you admire most about your dad?
My dad taught me how a man should take care of a woman. My dad, there's a debates and stuff going around on Facebook about, what if my friends came out to eat and her bill, this is a new one, was $25. Shouldn't your man cover it if he there? Well, my dad, he shouldn't cover it. I mean, nobody made to do anything. But my dad taught me what a gentleman's role. It's $25. I mean, I'm pretty sure my dad has always just been chivalrous. He made sure we had financially. He, I rode in luxury cars. Was he made it so that I didn't have to date me, be able to ride. It doesn't impress me for that kind of thing. So my dad really taught me, and still to this day, when I got my divorce, my dad has always told us that my house will always be your home. I got my divorce. I was scared to be a single mom, 3 kids. I went home, didn't have to pay a bill, didn't have to do nothing, live as long as you want to, eating their food, me and my 3 kids. And he's just, I know right now, if I left tonight and said, I can't do this, I can go right down the street and be with my dad. He gonna welcome me up. My dad I've learned unconditional love with my dad. And my dad has made a lot of mistakes over the years, but I'm such a daddy's girl that unconditional love, it don't get no better than that.
Cool.
It really don't.
That's really cool. That's super cool. All right. My next question to you. If you could have chosen your life to be the exact same way as a child, would you have picked it? Why or why not?
I would. I wouldn't probably years ago or as a young adult, but as a grown up, I would, because I experienced a lot of things that a lot of my peers have not. I've been places where watching my dad jump out of planes was the excitement of my life, to see him whirling around and see, that was just, woo, that was the best thing. And then, no, I would not change it. Meeting all these people, and I wouldn't change it. And to bring on some little controversy, I have a friend her husband is currently serving. They have 3 children. She's a bomb wife, military, I think he's just a lieutenant colonel or colonel. He's somewhere up, he's badass. Okay. But what we were saying is the controversy with the black and white and the salute and the flag. I can remember we had in every school, we had to stand up and say the pledge. When you were on base post, wherever, and they play you had to stop your car, get out, salute. And I just can't even imagine in this climate, as a black person, having to get out and salute something that it's kind of like, the oppression. But as a military child, that's what we knew. That's what we did. And it's kind of like, but no, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I feel like you. I'm not ashamed of where I'm from in terms of America. I was proud to serve. There are moments where I think about the fact that I served in the military and I served a country that really doesn't even look at me equal. And it plays with your mind. It plays with your subconscious, like you said. But those were the things in the military. I remember, having to, when I was outside talking to a friend of mine, if an officer walked by, stop, salute. Like it was like almost innate. I remember when I first went to the military, I was so young. I was 19 years old. And I remember the first time I actually really left, like away to go away. And just the things that ran through my mind in terms of being American, being very proud. I remember listening to the song Proud to Be an American, and I would cry, like have tears streaming down my eyes. Now when I hear the song, I have kind of the same sentiment, but it also comes with anger because I served my country and I still will never be looked at as equal. I've seen so many times veterans coming home from war and they're homeless on the street in downtown Atlanta. It's one of those things. It's one, like you said, it's one of those controversial things. And we are going to talk about that in an upcoming show because veterans just are not treated right. And we have to do something different, something better when it comes to all veterans. And don't worry, there's a controversy that I don't mind picking up. My next question to you, Tiffany, what advice, and there are lots of kids that are now dealing with obviously parents that are deployed. So what advice would you give to a child who's having a difficult time adjusting? Because, it is hard. And, we have, like you said, more accessibility to TV, to the internet, to everything. So what would you say to a child who is sad and is trying to adjust with their new life, maybe being at their new duty base, or if their parent is deployed? What would you say to them right now?
It's gonna get better. We all have felt that way. We've all had anxiety. We've all been nervous to stand up in class and say our name for the 50th million time that you're the new person. Where are you from? It will get better. You will meet people. You will meet new friends. And if not, there is support on the basis that will help. I don't think as children we realize how close knit the military is with their staff, because even when we got in trouble, we would okay, we would sneak out or do something, and my dad would get in trouble for us doing something, and we didn't realize the ramifications or whatever. So there is support. There are counselors, chaplains, all that kind of thing that'll help. But it will get better. That's all I can say. Because we've all gone to a different duty station, been a wreck for a month or two, and like, I wish I was back where I was. I don't like this. And I'm pretty, and your parents are so tired of hearing it. It will get better. That's about all.
And as a parent, so now you have a different perspective because you're a parent now. So
Right.
what would you say to a parent who is trying, like you said, is like, I'm trying, like I'm giving you everything that I have, and I'm trying to give you this good life, and I'm trying to help you be the best person you could be. What would you say to a parent who's trying to help a child adjust to a new world?
Just show support, because I think one thing about my mom, she was no nonsense. I mean, she was dealing with her own stuff, so she didn't. As kids, we don't. It's like they'll get, like, just go ahead, go. But just to give a hug and show that you care, show that it'll be all right. Mommy feels this way too. This is the reason why my patience is short. Like, you have to communicate with them so that we know, because we don't know. All we think is y'all keep moving as I'm mad. I was mad at my parents for a long time, and I was mad at my mom. Like, why are you with this man who makes us move so much? So that was. It's just showing support, giving a hug where hugs are needed, and just telling them too, you're nervous, because I'm sure as grown people are just as nervous. When I went to Germany with my husband, and ex-husband, and we lived off base in a whole village with people that didn't even speak English. And I was left there all day because he was going to work. And you got to make it. It's nerve-wracking even as an adult. So I think you just have to share your experiences with your kids and let them know you're just as scared and nervous too. And we'll get through it together. Because even with my divorce, I had to do that with my kids. I could not leave them in the dark and let them think that, okay, go,
Definitely. All right. So, I always come with tips, people. So I'm coming with tips to help the babies, because we're all about helping babies. So these are tips to help your kids say goodbye and plan for a move. Okay. And obviously, these are not set in stone tips. These are things that you can utilize to help you when you're dealing with children. Okay. The first tip is alert your kids to the move as soon as possible. I tell people all the time, when it comes to children, they know more than you think. Give them the update. Like Tiffany says, talk to them and have a real open dialogue about what you're planning on doing. The next one, listen to your kids and provide answers. That's huge, people. Listen to children. Children will tell you exactly what they're feeling. You don't necessarily have to adjust things, because you can't adjust things when you're in the military, right? But listen to them. And if they have questions, give them the best answers that you can give to them. The next one, let your kids help. I'm a big proponent about letting children help. Let them help pack. Let them help do anything. Let them be a part of the process. Tiffany, do you want to add to that a little bit? Because I think a lot of parents think, I got to do this. This is all on me. But it's not on you. It's on them too.
No. I think it's just involving them and asking them, what can you do better? I ask my kids, well, now I don't anymore because we're almost 2 years out of our divorce, but it's what do you think mommy could do? What do you think daddy? Even, when they're involved in the mental process of it all, I think it helps them. And you sit down and you face your fears with them, and you listen. Mommy don't have it all together either, and you apologize where you need to, because I think we lose patience or get whatever. They don't understand why, because they don't understand the adult crap that goes along with it. So we'll snap, we'll crackle and pop, but you got to be willing to say, you know what, I messed up, like I did, but this is why, in a childlike manner. And I think that's what's gotten me and my kids through a lot of change.
Definitely. And that's just in general as a whole. I say that to people is talk to your kids. They, like I said, they know
Absolutely.
more than what you know. All right, next one. Reassure your children. Obviously, when you move, it's traumatic. As a child, it can be traumatic. So reassure your kids that it's going to be okay, that there is a support system or whomever that may be. Let them know that there's resource just for them. Number 5, celebrate your kids' favorite things. One of the biggest things that I realized as a child that I appreciated about my mom is she would take me for ice cream on Sundays. Or if I made an A, she would, let me do something extra. Celebrate those things so that your child doesn't feel like they're alone and by themselves. Last and not least, look ahead. Spend time researching schools and parks and anything that's within their area. I personally am a proponent of before you move and take a big move and a leap, introduce your child to the area that you're going to. Like, what's the harm in that? What do you think about an aspect like that, Tiffany?
I have to take away the old school cultural behavior of you just got to get with the program. And sometimes I feel like y'all do need to just get with the program, but you do have to consider their feelings and their fears. My kids have changed schools and they did it beautifully, which I thought it was going to be. Oh, I want to do this because we've been in one town for 8 years. So to take them and do, but they did it, but we did it like you said, show them this is going to be your school, show them online. So you have to include them in the process. But back in my day, you weren't included in the process. You just had to get up and go. And that was just that. And kids couldn't question. And you let them question, it's respectful. You can be disrespectful with it. But if you respectfully say, well, mommy, why? I should be adult enough to come to you and let you know and reassure you. And why are you fearing this? What's going on? Because usually with kids, you're going to make new friends. You're going to have fun. You're going to be at activities. It's usually easy for us kids to adjust. We're scared of it. And until you teach your kids that, because after a while, you get used to change. You're like, whatever, I don't care. Dad's going to text tomorrow. You don't care. I want them to have that I don't care attitude, because once that I don't care attitude comes, then everything else trickles down with it. Like, I don't care about nothing at this point. We're just going to move. We don't care either. But if you take the time to talk to them and tell them why we're doing this and why my feelings are here, then I think everybody moves along quite smoothly. It's rough in the beginning, but it'll go better.
That was amazing advice, Tiffany. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I think that it's going to empower a lot of spouses that are definitely dealing with this, as well as children who are on the other side that's dealing with it. So thank you for your
Thank you.
expertise and your story. All right. So, I always close with a quote and a Bible verse, everybody. So this is my quote today. This is from an unknown author. Behind every soldier, there's an even stronger family who stands by them, supports them, and loves them with all their heart. And trust me, there's always a support system behind them. Proverbs 24:34. By wisdom, a house is built. By understanding, it's established. By knowledge, the rooms are filled with precious and pleasant riches. Thank you so much for tuning into our segment, Growing Up with a Military Family, with my very special guest, Tiffany Gibson, on our final show of season 4. See you guys later. Bye.